All right. Let's see who we got here. How's everybody doing? As you come in, let me know if you can see and hear me. Hope everybody's having a blessed night. Kim, you can hear me? Okay, good, good. Glad to hear. Let me know who else is in here. Hey, Sheila, how you doing? Kim Q, how are you? Peace and love and everybody to everybody. Peace and blessings to everybody. Good evening, Justin. Sohi, Albuquerque, New Mexico. Okay. We'll give it a couple of seconds before we begin, and then we'll hop right on in. Tonight, this is the third installment of my love series. So we're going to be talking about how we can create a culture of love in our personal lives. And then hopefully next week you guys come back. We'll have a discussion about how we can create a culture of love in our society as a whole. But yeah, that's what we're going to be discussing. Oklahoma. Is it cold in Oklahoma? Is it snowing? What's it doing in Oklahoma, weather-wise? Cian, hello. 7:40. I'm glad you came, Cian. You just joined. Okay. It's 74 degrees in Oklahoma. Whew. Jeez. Over here in Connecticut, it's I think it was 25 degrees today. All right. People are coming in. Yeah, it is cold, Sheila. Yikes is the right word. Oh, you're all the way from Seoul? Seoul, thank you for joining us. All the way in Seoul, Korea. Amazing. Oh, you're up in Canada. Okay. Am I pronouncing your name correctly? Is it Cyan or Cian? Cian, okay. All right, we got a few people who just joined us. Some people are still coming in, which is cool with me. We'll get started in probably about one more minute. Whatever I want, whatever one works, okay. I look a little rough around the edges today. I didn't shave and I'm exhausted, but we're gonna rock and roll. Val, how are you? We're gonna rock and roll. We're gonna have a good time. Well, you're welcome. I think that it's important that we focus on love. There's too much hate energy out there. The bad guys are winning. The bad guys are winning. We gotta focus on love. We gotta bring love out. Powerful. Thank you. Thank you for the compliment. Okay, so let's begin because I don't want to keep you guys waiting too long. And then right after this, every week I do an 11-11 session. So after this, I'm doing 11-11. So let's just begin this one. So we want to talk about how to create a culture of love, right? And I think it's important for us to describe and define what these terms mean because I think sometimes they get very vague in everybody's mind. The term culture is a term that we use a lot, but at the same time, people don't really understand what it means. And the word love is definitely a word or a term that is difficult for people to grasp and comprehend, even though we know it's an important part of life. It's something that we all want. We're all seeking it. But at the same time, many of us just don't understand what the word love means or culture. So I want to start off with a definition of what culture is. There's a guy who wrote a book called The Biology of Transcendence. I believe he was a psychologist, and his name was Joseph Chilton Pearce. He described the culture as a set of survival techniques handed down from one generation to the next, which sounds like a pretty complicated definition, but I think in a sense that definition of culture somewhat works. Your culture is supposed to be a series of things that will help you to survive and help other people around you to survive and make it from one generation to the next generation, to protect us, to protect our offspring from outside forces or even internal forces that might be destructive or calamitous to us. So that's what a culture is. Also, there's a writer, a Roman writer by the name of Cicero, who used the phrase cultura animus. And cultural animus means that it's something that nurtures your soul. Cultura means to cultivate, and animus means soul. So your culture is something that's not only supposed to help you survive, but it's something that's supposed to help you become better. It's supposed to nurture your soul, to cultivate your soul, so that way you can have a higher level of understanding, a higher level of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, and a higher level of connection with other people. Your culture is supposed to nourish those things within you. However, we live in what has become a toxic culture. Our culture has become very destructive to us. It doesn't nurture us. Our culture doesn't teach love. Our culture teaches hate. Our culture is pretty much lacking in a lot of things that we need to survive, and it promotes things that are actually destructive. You know, a culture that promotes drug abuse to children is destructive. A culture that promotes violence and aggression is destructive. A culture in a nation that has been at war for like 250 years straight. I think I read somewhere that the U.S. has been at war for 250 years nonstop in some kind of ground conflict in this country or abroad. So this is a culture that has become very, very sick. So it's hard to understand what a culture is, because we live in a culture that does the exact opposite of what a culture is supposed to do, right? And there's certain things that are a part of our culture, and we want to create a culture of love. But in order to create a culture of love, we have to understand the elements and how culture expresses itself. Culture expresses itself in institutions. Culture expresses itself in law, in icons, in leaders, in habits, rituals, and symbols. Now, of course, there are other ways that culture expresses itself. It expresses itself in art, it expresses itself in media. There's a lot of ways that culture expresses itself, but I kind of wanted to stick to these because I kind of wanted to boil it down as much as I possibly could, right? And if you want to create a culture of love, let's understand what love is. And I was looking for it as much as I couldn't find it. I wrote at the beginning of the love series, I wrote what I felt was a definition of love, and I'm like, oh my God, it's so perfect. I want to save this forever. And I saved it, and I put it somewhere, and then I can't remember where I put it. But basically, my definition of what love was is that love is an internal force that breaks down the barriers within us and allows us to have a greater sense of connection to individuals around us, right? So if we want to have a culture of love, we have to have institutions of love, laws of love, leaders and icons who represent love. We want to have habits of love, rituals of love, and symbols of love. And we can create those we can create those things and bring those things into our personal lives. I think it's very important that we have personal institutions of love. I think it's very important that we have personal rules and laws of love. It's important that we have people who are examples of love. Who in your personal life is an example of what love is? A walking, talking, living example, or if you don't have one in your personal life, who you know of, who is an example of love for you. And not just love for you, but love from you to other people. It's very important that we keep that in mind. So, institutions are organizations or traditions of organizations that perpetuate culture and tend to the needs of the people. Now, your institutions could be religious institutions, it could be a church or a mosque, or it could be marriage. They call marriage an institution. Marriage is a great. Are you seeing? Is it fuzzy to you? Is it fuzzy to you over there, Tersami? Yeah, I gotta work on it. I don't know what it is. For some people, it's fuzzy. For some people, it's pretty clear. I don't know, but I'll try to continue. Hopefully, you guys can hear me pretty well. So it's important that we find institutions of love. Wherever there is a place around you, where love is being expressed, whenever there's a group or organization that's expressing love for the people in the community, or even people who you know personally, create and build your own institution of love. You need these organizations, you need these groups to come together. You need people to come together and form institutions that are going to propagate a culture of love. Because you can't propagate a culture as an individual. You can embody a culture, but it's hard for one person, one individual, to propagate an entire culture with one particular idea. It takes a very long time to do that. And sometimes it takes so long for it to happen that you're trying to promote love and push love, and then you could die, and then your ideas about love kind of get pushed to the wayside because current events are always taking place. So find the institutions of love. It could be a house of worship. It could be somewhere where somebody's doing charity work. It could be somewhere where somebody is volunteering. It could be somewhere where somebody just needs help. But find a group of individuals and build that institution of love. Another way that culture expresses itself is through law. Law is strictly enforced rules that create societal stability, equality, and serves the needs of the people, or serve the needs of oneself and others. So you have love laws. You know, it's important that we have love laws. As individuals, we're trying to create a culture of love in our personal lives. We got to make sure that we have laws for that. You have to have personal rules for love. And I found something, and I'm not a religious person at all, but I think I found a list of rules in the Bible that perfectly articulate rules that we all need to have in our lives for love. And it's from 1 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 8. Chapter 4 and to verse 8. It says, love is patient, love is kind. It does not boast, it is not proud, it does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrong. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. These are love laws. And I think that if we include these love laws into our personal lives, it'll help us to cultivate a culture of love. Now, my personal love law is something that took me a long time to understand. But one of my personal laws about love is try my best to listen and not let my internal insecurities or my traumas respond before my mind and my heart can respond. Because I had went through so much trauma when I was a kid and saw so many things that upset me that I had defense mechanisms and my body would respond. You know, they say when you're traumatized, your central nervous system takes over your body before you even know what's happening. So sometimes somebody will offer me criticism. What are you talking about? I never did that. What are you talking about? I would just not fly off the handle because I was never an aggressive person or anything like that. But my defense mechanisms would definitely be up. It was hard for me so I had to learn and teach myself how to listen and not let my internal triggers and not let my past dictate my actions in the moment. Somebody could be telling me something that I need to hear. And it might not be pretty, it might not be cute, it might not be a compliment, but I might need to listen. So one of my love laws is to listen more and to control my emotions so I can truly hear with a clear mind what's being said to me. I'm still working on a few other love laws. I do believe I should be more forgiving. That's something I'm working on. It took me a long time to even get to this point, but I think that it's important that it says here that love keeps no record of wrong, meaning that when you truly love somebody, things are going to happen, and you have to sometimes teach yourself how to just let these things go and forget about it. Forgive and forget, not just forgive, because you can forgive and remember it in your mind and always kind of hold a grudge. Even though you forgave, you hold on to it. But sometimes you have to forgive and forget. Phoenix, I'm glad you're having a good time. Thank you for saying that. So we have to try to understand that we need personal love laws so that we can know how to interact with other people. And one thing about me is I do have rules and regulations for how I live my life, and I never regret following my rules. I only regret when I don't follow them. Whenever I don't follow my rules, that's when I think, oh God, why? I feel regret, but I also have negative situations happen because I didn't follow my own personal rules. And it's the same thing with your love laws. Come up with love laws and make your love laws really sincere and base your love laws not only on your needs, but on what you need to work on. Sometimes you can have a love law, and a lot of times when we create laws and regulations, it's to protect us, but we never think about things that we got to work on to protect others from us, because we all see ourselves as benevolent. But sometimes you have to look at yourself and be honest and say, I need love laws on how I treat people as well. Not just love laws to protect me, and we all need those, but we need love laws about ways that we can offer more love and more compassion to other people. So write a list of your love laws. What are your love laws? You know, anybody got any ideas? What do you think would be a good love law? I want to have more love in my life. What's a good love law, you guys think? And everybody don't have to answer, but just maybe one or two answers. What do you think is a good love law? All right, I don't see nobody volunteering to answer. Be helpful and kind. Very good. So that could be one of your love laws. See what you can do for other people. Offer compassion. That's an excellent one. Sometimes people are going through things and we don't understand what they're going through. Being more accepting. Very good. And I'm glad that you decided to look at yourself and create a love law as a way of being honest with yourself. Excellent. Excellent. Thank you very much for sharing, guys. So let's move on to the next one. Icons and leaders. Practice patience, Kim Q, absolutely. Now, icons and leaders of love. Now, I'm not sure who you might look to. Some people might look to Martin Luther King. Some people might look to Gandhi. That's great and that's wonderful. But if you have somebody in your personal life who's a representative of love and compassion, who would that be? For me, it would be my mother. My mother was a person who went through a lot of issues and trauma while she was married to my dad, and that never took the love out of her heart. She was always eager for love, always open to love, was always willing to give her heart no matter what she went through. She might have had negative experiences with certain people, but she still continued to be open to other people. Your BFF, Gwen, yeah, that's great that you have somebody who's your friend who teaches you how to love, teaches you how to be more compassionate. I think we all need that. In any field, you need a mentor or you need an example. When you want to enter into biology or enter into physics, there's always examples of scientists who are like the creme de la creme, the greatest in that field. You talk about physics, you talk about Einstein and Niels Bohr and Stephen Hawking, but we don't have this. Who's the Stephen Hawkings of love in our personal lives? We need that. The geomagnetic storm happening, which could be affecting communications. Oh, okay. And maybe it is. Yeah, I heard there was a big sunspot or something happening. Maybe today or tomorrow too. There's been a lot of interesting cosmic things happening lately. It's a really good time. It's a really interesting time to be alive, despite all the things happening. But yeah, who would be your Stephen Hawking of love? As long as we have examples of love around us and we have leaders and icons of love, we can follow those leaders and icons and they can spread their love and we can learn how to be better at it as well. My mother teaches me, and to this very day, my mom teaches me a lot of things about love and how to be better at being a family man, how to be better at being a husband. So I'm still in the process of learning every day, and she's my leader in that, and I'm not afraid to say that. My mom is my mommy is my leader and my icon of love. She's the Albert Einstein of love for me, and I appreciate her more and more every day. The next one is habits. Now this is very important because love is something that has to become habitual in order for it to become real. It has to be something that you're living not only every day, but in a sense, you kind of have to live it every minute out of the day. Every minute out of the day, you have to like live love, or else it's easy to lose it. Especially in stressful times, especially in these times where everybody's in a constant state of anxiety and everybody's in a constant state of terror. Everybody's nervous about what could happen. These are times when we have to learn how to be loved. We have to learn how to be loving in a habitual sense. Every minute out of every single day, we have to learn how to love each other, but love each other even more deeply. And not just in a vague sort of, they call that term agape. Agape is like love for everyone. But no, I'm talking about specific love, personal love. Because if we want to welcome love into our personal lives, we have to learn how to be loving on a continuous basis. It can't be just something that we do until we get what we want. I want a relationship, so I'm going to be very loving, and then when a relationship happens, I'm not as loving anymore. I want to get married. I'm going to be really nice and loving until I get married, and then it's just, now I'm married. I don't need to be loving anymore. It has to be a habit. It has to be something that you do on a consistent basis. And, we have certain love laws, but let's create love habits too. And we have to ask ourselves, how often do we have habits of love? How often do we show compassion to other people? How often do we show affection to individuals who we know personally or who we are in relationships with? And it doesn't even have to necessarily be a sexual relationship or an intimate relationship. It could be a friendship. Exactly. Show up to love every day. It could be a friendship. It could be your kids. It could be a grandparent. It could be your own mother. How often are we showing affection to those individuals around us? How often do we give compliments? You can show love through your words. You look nice. You look beautiful. I really enjoy spending time with you. I was waiting for your phone call. I was so excited to hear from you. I love when you sit down together. We don't even need to speak. We can just sit and just hold hands, or we can just sit next to each other, and I enjoy your energy. These are love habits. How often do we give to others? Especially now, everybody's so busy. I find myself so busy sometimes that sometimes I have to slow down and remind myself somebody just did something nice for me. Let me show some appreciation. Somebody did something nice for me at my job. I was like, oh, okay. I kind of just shot past, and I had to stop myself and then go back. And I said, you know what? I really appreciate that. You really looked out, man. Sorry I shot past you so quick, but salute you. I thank you. I appreciate that. Sometimes we have to remind ourselves and take that time to have these love habits. And like I said, it doesn't always have to be intimate love. Everybody thinks that when we talk about love, it's an intimacy thing or a sexual thing, but love can just be love for other people, regardless of whether or not there's intimacy, sexual intimacy involved. We can be and should be more loving in our day-to-day practices with individuals who we have relationships with, regardless of the relationship. And then by doing that, you create more opportunities for love to be welcome into your life. It's hard to find love because so many of us have forgotten how to be loving. It's hard to find love, especially if you're out here in the dating scene. So many of us have dealt with so much pain, trauma, anger, and we've been dealing with so much stress from these times. We literally have forgotten how to be loving. And then so many of us are stressed out because we can't find love, can't find the right person. And we forgot how to be loving. So you're going to find the right person and chase them off anyway because you're so mean and bitter and angry. So let's take the time to develop the habits of love consistently and continuously. If you want love, you have to be effusive with love. It has to consistently keep coming out of you. Ask yourself, how many times who have I uplifted today? Who did I see that I walked away from them, and when I walked away from them, there was more energy, more positivity, more love in this person? Because when you first see somebody, you might see them when they're down and out. And then you walk into the room and bring them even lower. But if you can see somebody and find somebody and you can offer them your positive energy, some positive insight, and really show concern, and you walk away and they feel empowered, they feel happier, they feel better, that's a beautiful thing. That's love. And you can just do it for them and just get up and walk away. Don't stand and wait for appreciation. Don't stand and wait for some kind of repayment. Just do it and just walk away out of love. Because you care about them so much that you don't need anything in return. At least not right now. Express love every day. And you know what else you can do? Because I like to write songs and I like to write and use poetry and things of that nature. You could express your love through art. I know there's people here who might play instruments. You might write music. You might paint. You might love to do poetry. You might like to dance. Those artistic gifts are meant to show love to the world. But also you can use them to show love to individuals in your personal life. Give it up. If that's the greatest gift you've ever been given by the universe, God, nature, whatever term you want to use, if that's the greatest gift that you've been given by the Creator, imagine if you use that gift and give it to somebody on a personal level. That would make that person feel so good and so honored. If you feel like you were put on earth to dance ballet, and then you have a loved one in your life who you really care for, and you dance specifically for them, that's going to make them feel incredible. If you sing, and you have a beautiful singing voice, which I wish I did, but let's say you can really sing beautifully. Imagine if you have somebody in your personal life and you say, this is for you, and you express that love through the sound of your voice. That person is going to walk away from that floating on air because you're using the greatest gift you've been given to honor the person who you're with. Now that is a powerful expression of love, my friend. Love rituals. Do we have rituals of love in our personal lives? You paint pictures for your family all the time? It makes me feel, and I know it makes them feel great, Michelle. That you're using your gift to paint something for them and giving it to them from your heart. A gift from the Creator. That has to be a beautiful feeling for them. And I honor you and I respect you because you're using your gifts to give love to other people, expressing your love through art. That's amazing. That's exactly what we're talking about and exactly what we need more of. Yep, you're welcome. You're welcome, Michelle. So let's see what rituals are. Rituals are ceremonies often with memorized and repeated actions that are forms of expression of beliefs, association, tradition, or historical events. So, like, imagine a Catholic mass. There's certain words that are repeated. There's a certain intonation in the words. There are certain patterns of movement. I think I went to a Catholic church maybe 4 times in my whole life, and it was a very interesting experience for me because of all the rituals. You know, I grew up in a Pentecostal background, so there weren't a tremendous amount of rituals. You know, there was preaching, there was singing, people would catch the Holy Ghost. But in the Catholic Church, it was very, very different. It wasn't a whole lot of movement. It wasn't a whole lot of soulful singing. Everything was very ethereal, and there was a lot of ritual in there. But they go through these rituals to celebrate certain events or acknowledge certain individuals in their religion, and they would do it every year at the same time, or every week at the same time, to give honor to people. Because in order to really truly give honor to people, it has to be something that you do consistently. But also, these rituals are an excellent way of communicating these things to the unconscious mind. So if you have a love ritual, because people start to expect it because it's done at the same time, consistently, in the same way, consistently, these love rituals kind of program people to expect your love. And that's a beautiful thing. When it starts to communicate, that love starts to seep into the unconscious mind, and the person who you're in love with, or the person who you love, they start to expect it. That means you're giving it freely. When they know they can get it, they know they can get that love whenever they need it. They know it's going to come every Friday at 7 o'clock. They know it's going to come every morning when you make, well, whatever it is, whatever your love ritual might be. When others begin to accept it and expect it, that means you're giving it freely. That means they know. That's a beautiful feeling when you know that this expression of love, this love ritual, is coming. That's a beautiful thing. That means you let your guard down. That means you're allowing yourself to be loved, and that means that you're deepening your love towards other people. My daily meditation practice is my love ritual to myself and helps me give my love to others more freely, and that's excellent. That's excellent, Michelle. And it's beautiful that you have that ritual for loving yourself. That's beautiful. Now I want us to ask the question of what we can do as a ritual to show our love to others. Now your ritual could be something very, very simple. It could be every Saturday go on a date with the person who you're in a relationship with, or every Saturday spend time with a friend and go for a walk. I know people who like to hike. I'm not a big hiker, but you know, if I know individuals like to hike, you know, let's go for a hike. Every weekend we go for a hike. Or it could be, you know, light some candles. Spend time with somebody, just light some candles and just talk. You know, but make sure you do the ritual every week, every month, every day at around the same time, because it's that certainty, that repetition, that schedule that really makes the ritual powerful. And then you might write a poem for somebody, and every time you're with them, you might recite that poem. You might have a particular movie that just personifies and expresses love for you. You might watch it every year with the same person. You know, one ritual me and my wife had I'll put the responsibility on myself, that I failed to do, was we wanted to watch our wedding. We videotaped our wedding. It was really nice. It was really beautiful. And we wanted to watch it every year on our anniversary. We didn't do that. Well, I say I didn't promote that as much as I should have. So that could have been our love ritual. So bring these love rituals, whether it be relationship rituals or just friendship rituals, bring them into your daily life, into your weekly life, into your monthly life. But you need the rituals. You need the rituals to teach you to be more consistent. Okay? Symbols. Now, symbols are interesting because symbols are ways of communicating things directly and without words. Now, for instance, a wedding ring, that might be a symbol of love and affection. Flowers in our culture are a symbol of love and affection. I used to have a symbol that was an ankh. An ankh, for those who don't know, is an ancient Egyptian symbol for life and divinity. And a lot of Kemetic or ancient Egyptian scholars, they said that the ankh was shaped the way it was shaped because it was shaped somewhat like the uterus of the woman. And they believe that the woman was inherently divine because the woman brought life into the universe. There's other individuals who theorize that the symbol is a combination of the masculine and the feminine. So that's why it was a symbol of life and divinity. There was a doctor, and I'm going on a whole tangent now. Yeah, the color red symbolizes love. Okay, and that's great. That's beautiful. But as long as you have something that immediately expresses that and keep it around you at all times, it's amazing. And that helps you to keep your mind focused on it. That's the whole point of a symbol. The whole point of the symbol is to communicate to you consistently, constantly, what you want to stay focused on, but without words. Now there was a doctor in ancient Egypt. His name was Imhotep. Actually, he was a multidisciplinarian, meaning that he was a doctor, a mathematician, and an architect. Brilliant man. He was such a brilliant doctor and such a brilliant healer. While he was alive, they made statues of him, and the statues were very, very plain. After he died, the legend of him and the knowledge about him began to grow. And almost like a mythology about him began to grow because he developed so many interesting techniques to help heal people. So as the years went by, first it started off with very simple statues and images of him. And then the images became more bold. They became more symbolic. You would just see initially as a humble man, and then you would see him on a throne, and then you would see him with royal robes on. And then like 300 years after his death, or like 400 years after his death, you began to see him holding the Ankh in his hand. The Ankh was a symbol of divinity because after a while, people began to worship him as a god because he was such a powerful healer. So that's why the image of the Ankh was so powerful to me, because it showed the divinity of love for me. And when I was married, well, I'm still married, but when I was, married years ago, I had an Ankh, and I gave my wife a bunch of them. I gave her a bunch of Ankhs because I wanted her to understand that I saw her as divine for me, and that was my love symbol. So what are your love symbols? Find symbols around you to express the love that you have, not just for individuals you're in romantic relationships with, but individuals who you love personally. It could be your son, could be your daughter, could be your cousin, could be somebody you're really cool with. Is the image still fuzzy? Over here, for some reason, my tablet is getting dark. I don't know why. Did you guys see me all right? Okay. Still fuzzy? I don't know what's going on with this thing. Yeah, I think next week if my office is available, I might sneak into the building later and record there. I think the Wi-Fi over there might be a little better. But there's something weird going on.